Okay.
All right. Welcome tonight to our podcast, our first one, joined together. Me, Honest Tree, also named Arthur, and joined by the Armenian, who otherwise goes in real life by Alvin. So we're going to cover this B race that we both participated in this past Tuesday. And I thought it was an interesting tactical race, so it'd be worth talking about some of the decisions we made both the beginning of the race and the end of the race. What was your impression of this race? We don't go into conclusions, but just tell me what your thoughts were going into the race.
Well, like I said in my vlog on my videos, my intentions were to get a top 10 finish in this B race. Since it was only my second B race ever as a Cat 4, I wasn't really expecting to get a podium win. If the opportunity was there, I was going to take it, but I wanted to work more and try to stay up close to the front and not be swarmed and boxed in like I did on the previous race.
Well, let me interrupt for just a second because something important's happening. My teammate, number 156, just in front of me, Mike, he is going up the road, and I'm taking a little ride from him. So this move that he's making here is going to be important in just a second. And then on the front, we have Matrix, our buddy up there that we've been on many rides with, who's on the front pulling for Matrix. That is the blue, red, and white kit. So one introduction I want to make is there's a very strong rider in this race. His name is Patrick, and he's the guy to watch out for. He's the favorite in this race. He's been killing it in races all over Texas, including the last time he was here at the B race, he won it. And he's won at the Thursday night crit over and over, to the point that I understand he's not allowed to be on the podium anymore for the B crit. So anyway, that's the introduction. And Alvin, this is what, your second B race?
Yes.
For Tuesday nights? Okay. So, one of the cardinal rules here is that, generally speaking, you do not want to attack your own teammates. And if you have a teammate in the breakaway, you probably don't want to bridge the group up to your teammate. So here we see our teammate Mike going off the front. He is now officially off the front. It's important to note that there's also a really strong wind today. I saw it was forecast like 16 to 17 miles per hour. And of course, gusts probably higher than that. And so here's the second important move. A rider from Cadence, Jesus, crosses over, and he's trying to...
Windsor, you mean?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Cadence.
Oh, sorry. I meant Windsor. They're in the black kits, and there's a Windsor kit right in front of me here in the video. And so he's gone up, strong rider. He's gone up to meet up with our Mike up there on our team, on Pack. So there they are in the distance. So we're going to hang out, right? We're not going to chase that. Where were you at this time?
Yeah, I was, I want to say I was probably about, I'm right. You could see me in your rear view right there. I'm kind of like next to Bobby there.
Okay.
I'm in your rear view, come right there on the right-hand side. So I'm just trying to shelter and stay there and not chase anything and just kind of feel it out, see what people are going to do.
All right, we got to watch on the right side here. Towards my right side, there's going to be very important. There he goes.
There he is.
That is Patrick. That is the favorite. That is the guy that we know is the guy who's going to probably win this race or has the greatest chance of winning this race. So what do? I saw him go. Nobody's reacted. I decide to react and try to bridge up to him. And so there he is looking back. Now, this is a legit thing to do. If someone's trying to move up to the guy in your breakaway, your teammate, you cover him. You don't help him, you cover him. So there's my teammate Carlos, who goes around me. And watch this. It's going to get sketchy in just a second. Check this out, Alvin. As we go around this turn, watch his back wheel.
Whoa!
That'll put the fear of a higher being into you when you see someone almost go down like that. But anyway, so we're chasing, and you can see that the two guys up the road are still up the road. That Patrick has not bridged up to them, and I'm on Carlos's wheel, trying to get a little bit of a rest as he's doing the work on the front. We have a little bit of a tailwind right here. So here we are. Patrick hasn't bridged up, and I'm on Carlos's wheel. And I'm wondering what we should do. Like at this point, I look at Carlos and I ask him, like, should we go? Should I go? And I hesitate and I pause because I'm not sure if I should try to bridge to this or not, because we have a teammate up the road. And now there's Patrick just bridge up, and they make the decision for us as I sit up. There goes Matrix with Ryan on the front. And of course, we don't want Ryan to join in that breakaway. That would be disastrous for us because he's one of the very strongest sprinters in the group. We do not want him joining there. And so he's gone. The elastic is broken. He put in a dig right there. Those guys didn't follow. And now we are in a bad position because we do not want him to join up. And maybe we have just done the work necessary that allows him to have rested and to join the breakaway. So did we make a tactical error trying to chase Breen? That's the question that I've wrestled with. And, you know, both me and Alvin are pretty junior beginner racers. We're not experienced guys. This is a weeknight crit. We're free to experiment to some extent. And right here, you see these guys are just completely set up and they're letting the brake go. Even though, you know, one guy, his teammate is in the brake. But the other team, no, they're not in the brake and they're not chasing. Of course, Matrix is not going to be chasing with Ryan up the road trying to join the brake. And so one rider from the cadence here. And so, you know, we're just we're on the third lap. We're not even done with 3 laps. And it looks like the race is potentially already over in terms of the podium spots.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed too is like right there when we were going right into the headwind, we were slowing down big time. I mean, I was just watching the speed right there, and I mean, we're getting down. It's like 18, 19 miles an hour. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, the brakes down.
Those guys are hammering. They're going 25, 30. Whole group is doing 20. See you later.
Right, and so you see a little bit of a dig right here. And you also see that Ryan does not quite, he came so close to bridging. It was, I mean, it might have been like 1 second gap, 2 second gap that he missed joining that breakaway. You see Ryan there on the right. So he's one of our most feared riders. Great guy. He's taught me a lot. He's been super helpful, a mentor to me. But, you know, when you're on the race, when you're on the course, we're competing against him, and we don't want him to win. We want to mark him and make sure he doesn't win. We have one of our strongest riders up here on the front left with the big beard. His name is Bobby. Great guy in breakaways, and also does well in sprint finishes as well. So at this point, you know, are we even really chasing? Here we are with like a cross tailwind, and we're going 24 miles an hour. We're not even chasing. This breakaway is gone. So breakaway.
We're ramping up to about 30 right here. So I think we could have probably kept the pressure on.
Who's we though? We're not at that point, right? With 3 guys up the road and one of our teammates in the group. Of course, one of the struggles here, one of the things you have to debate is, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, are we trying to win the race as the team? Do we want first place? Are we willing to sacrifice a podium spot for the chance of getting first place? Because at this point, you know, we know that if this breakaway gets away, it's almost certain that Patrick's going to win. And I think that's a hard thing to debate, and you could get reasonable people give different answers. You know, I've talked to one of the guys that I really respect here, and he says, when I came in 4th place, when I was going for first place in a race where I was trying to catch a breakaway, and I ended up dragging someone onto the podium as he just completely followed my wheel and didn't put any work. You know, he said, well, you know, you were trying to go for first place, and that's probably the best thing to do, to go for first place. But at the same time, you don't want to give up a pretty sure podium spot for maybe the chance of first or second place. What do you think?
Well, repeat that one last time. What do you?
So, for example, if we think we're not going to get first place in this breakaway, you know, we're not going to get first in the race with
a
3-man breakaway. Are we okay with that? And let's say the calculus has changed. There's 4 people in the breakaway, and there you go off the course. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was right there in the grass and the gravel. You know, are we okay with 4th? You know, are we okay with 5th? At what point Do you say, or you know, if there's 6 or 7 guys in the breakaway and you don't have confidence that your teammate is going to be on the podium or even in the top 5, do you try to pull back a breakaway that has a teammate in it? What do you think?
Well, it's kind of hard to answer that. I mean, it really depends on who's around me. Like, I guess, I mean, since I'm right here, I can't wrap my head around what exactly I'm thinking here. I knew that there were 3 guys off the front, so my mentality right now is that those guys are gonna fry.
Fry.
Yeah, they're gonna sit up there in the front, and they're gonna have to fight that wind. And we're kind of saving our energy back here, and maybe we can ramp things up closer towards the end of the race, and then suck them back in. But I mean, those 3 guys, they were obviously working together.
Well,
They definitely weren't. There's no video feed to see what they were doing, but there wasn't one of them just. I don't think Patrick was pulling that whole 3-man group, the two men behind him the whole time. They were definitely rotating around and sharing the load.
well, that's interesting that we had different perspectives on this, because I was certain that they were gone, that it was done, you know.
Really?
And that's because of how strong Patrick is. And because you know, I've seen that he's ridden away from the entire B field on the Thursday night crits, like halfway into the race, and just soloed it in, and not even close. I mean, so I knew that potentially he could win by himself solo. So Carlos taking a pull here, my teammate. Let's see, we are 5 laps into this. I don't remember, you know, I think at this, I can't tell, is there someone off the front, in front of him? Yeah, I think there might be a couple of guys.
So are you saying that you've seen Patrick solo off of the front of a B race group on like the second lap, and then hold off the whole group throughout the whole race?
Not the second lap, but over half the race on the B race. He's done that.
That was my thinking. They took off on the second lap, and yeah, there's 3 guys, but you're trying to predict what those other guys are going to do. I mean, what if those other guys can't hang on to Patrick and they drop off, and now he's by himself?
Okay, but the other thing is I can tell from our group that we are not chasing. We are not chasing, and so if they are putting in a constant pace, they don't have to be going at some world record pace to outpace us. If we're in the group and we're slowing and then we're speeding and guys are attacking and they're slowing down, I knew that they were gone. I knew that it was curtains. That after that, we were racing for 4th.
Now let me ask you this: how do you know we were not how exactly do you know that we were not chasing?
Well, you look at the group. We're 2 abreast. We're 3 abreast at times. You are chasing when it is single file. People are getting gapped, and
so being single file. So the telltale signs of a peloton group chasing a breakaway are single file.
Yeah, it's going hard. It's almost like the people in the front could be establishing a secondary breakaway. When you are when you are freewheeling, you are not chasing.
You're not chasing. Yeah.
And when it's
so single file, constantly pedaling, no freewheeling at all, high cadence, right?
And there's got to be guys going to the front and doing work and going hard.
Okay, so guys moving up from the back, or just people or the guy in the front dropping back.
Well, put it this way: my experience in this B race is that it's either off or it's on, and you definitely know when it's on, because you are suffering a little bit when it's on. And so, when guys are, you see all kinds of guys freewheeling right here. It is off. It is completely off. There is no way we're going to catch that game. And look at my 30-watt power right now is 83 watts. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And so at this point they are long gone. But the original question was, does the calculus get more complicated as you consider who's in the break, who is going to do best in that break in terms of the finish, and what exactly you're racing for? So I don't know if we've seen it yet. I haven't noticed it in the video, but at a certain point, one of our very best riders, um, the other bearded rider, uh, Bobby, he has a mechanical, and I can see him. He was looking down at his drivetrain, and I think he dropped his chain. He was trying to get his chain back on, and and he stopped. I thought about waiting for him, seeing if I could pace him up to the group, but I decided that would be futile. And as it was, I think he dropped out, didn't even try to catch back on. So I don't know if he had like a complete mechanical failure. I think it was something more than just a drop chain. So I don't think he did the A race next either. So it must have been some pretty serious mechanical. Anyway, that did impact the race in the sense that we lost one of our favorites to either work for or who might do a secondary attack or something like that. Did you notice that he was out of the race?
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, I did notice him with the mechanical. Yeah.
So you just saw on the left, the Eng rider goes up on the left side. ENG, those guys have been tearing it up in the 4-5 crits. And so he's always game for an attack or two. So again, you see the game of position right now, but we have a lot of laps to go, and we're racing for fourth. So off the podium, are guys less inspired to race when they know that they're not fighting for a podium spot? We should mention that there's something called the Cash Cup for this particular crit, where there are points that can be earned in the A and the B crits, and those points go to a final championship for teams, in which I think there's $1,000 purse up for grabs for the team that gets the most points. So in this particular crit, in the B crit, it's worth less points. It's worth 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1 for the top 5 spots. So we would be competing here for the 4th and the 5th spots, which are each worth 1 point.
Yeah, so I think pretty much by now we already know that we're not going to catch him, and we're just going through the motions right here, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but like you said, I mean, you never know you can't really predict what's going to happen. What if one of those guys had a mechanical too, and then now there's 2 guys left?
Yeah, that's happened. One of our teammates was in the breakaway a few weeks ago, got a mechanical and had to stop. And I got in the breakaway a while ago and got dropped, which is the worst thing that can happen. But luckily, I wasn't the only guy on our team in that particular breakaway. We're going to see in the video here that eventually I moved to the front, and I considered my job at that point to be chasing down guys who were trying to establish a secondary breakaway. So I don't know exactly where the 3 guys are off the front, but I'm assuming that they're way off the front. But I'm hedging my bets just a little bit. Like maybe there's a couple % chance that we don't want them, someone to chase and bridge up to them. But I'm pretty sure no one can bridge up to them. What I'm thinking is that we want to preserve our positions and not let people claim 4th and 5th spots via a secondary breakaway. Of course, I'm not in any position to do anything about that right now, as I'm way in the back. Where are you at this point?
I'm in front somewhere. You're in the back. I don't see you. I don't see me back there. So I'm somewhere in the middle of the pack or up front, just trying to stay up in the top 10 of whatever we have left here.
I guess another thing that you have to think about is, do you go into the race with a team strategy? Of course, all strategies can get upended by what happens during the race. But actually, so far, this race was quite predictable. At some point, Patrick was going to get into a breakaway, start a breakaway, join a breakaway, and that would likely be the winning move. And so that's already happened. Like, the race is over in that respect. But there's still a race within a race, which is what we're doing now. And looks like, we're into that headwind again. Nobody wants to pull. I tried to stay on the inside here when on this part with the headwind, just to be in better position for the crosswind.
Yeah.
As we turned left. So that was the reason I spent most of my time here on the inside in this particular stretch of the course.
Yeah, I tried that inside line a few times, and I was getting kind of pushed around because people were the wind. The other thing that you got to think about, yeah, you're sheltered by the wind, but then look at the people on the right. The wind is hitting them, and they're swerving around. And I mean, earlier in the race, you saw me. I got basically muscled off of the course into the grass, and I was okay with either being in the middle and being boxed in, or to the right hand side here and just taking that crosswind and then just using the rider in front of me and using their draft in the front and just taking a little bit of crosswind. And it seemed like being on the right hand side was more predictable for me. I don't know.
I preferred to be on the left, and just you got to hold your position and watch your front wheel. Don't let someone cross your front wheel, and use your body to create space and just occupy space. And worst came to worst, you had to lean into somebody like that's coming into you. You got to do that. I mean, that's happened to me twice where riders have basically crashed into me. I guess one thing we haven't talked about that occurred to me was, should Matrix have chased at the beginning of the race when Windsor went? Like, if Matrix is on the front, should Matrix have chased it? I think it worked out fine for Matrix in that they almost bridged Ryan up. But, it's not that it's just Matrix's job to chase Windsor when they went off the front. But that's one thing that occurred to me. But that's old news at this point.
Where's Matrix in the standings for the Cash Cup right now?
They are second, and they're way up there second, so they're far above third. Last point total, we were tied for third before this race. So
maybe they should have chased. Maybe.
Yeah, as it turned out, I mean, if Ryan had gotten into that breakaway, he could have potentially won the race. Mm-hmm. I would have suspected if Ryan was in the breakaway that Breen would try to attack Ryan at some point using his awesome FTP. When I say awesome, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm saying it literally, an awesome, just fitness, and try to break Ryan off from being able to stay in. He doesn't want to be in a sprint finish with Ryan, most likely. So he would have tried to prevent that. Maybe an early attack, a couple laps, or a full lap before the finish. But who knows?
That's hard. That's really difficult to do. I was in a situation like that in that Cat 5 race that I did with Carlo and another gentleman, and it was a really weird situation where Carlo was hammering the whole time, and I was on his wheel, and then we had this guy behind us, and then we were kind of playing around, and I was jumping up front, trying to accelerate out, but I mean, this guy, I could not shake this guy off of us. He was like right there, every single attack. And it was getting frustrating. It's hard to do, really hard to do. And you got someone back there, and they're slamming on those pedals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's challenging, man. It's really challenging to do, to try to drop somebody that's just back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering if it was at this point, or maybe it's just in a little bit, that I realized my derailleur shifter cable is broken. Like, I go to shift and it doesn't shift. And so I see Bobby on the left. He's out of the race at that point by his car. So that was a little bit disconcerting when I knew that it was probably close to going, but I was hoping it wouldn't go, like I had another race left, and I knew there was some fraying that had occurred, and I noticed I just hadn't had time to change it out.
Now, what's happening here? There's another...
looks like there's an attack, and I'm trying to cover it.
Okay, no, that's one of our guys. That's a Matrix guy, and...
Cadence. So it looks like Ryan. Yeah, that's Ryan. And so, yeah, and Windsor.
So they're attacking here.
Okay, so you can see two guys further up the road from him. So,
okay, the Cadence guy's dropping off.
Yeah, okay, so yeah. So I had to put in a pretty big dig to stay on Ryan's wheel here, and I didn't know what was going on behind me, but look, you can see that me and Ryan
are these lapped riders in front of him, or are these two guys that he's chasing?
We're chasing. I think those are the. We're chasing guys that are off the front from us, and so. I'm not really interested. I mean, if I can be kind of taken into a secondary break and we can hang on to it, I'm willing to do it. But I'm not really willing to create the break or make the break happen. So
okay, so here,
yeah. So at this point, the impetus has come out of the break. The guys in the front, that we've caught onto them. They don't want to put any more work. Ryan's going again. And Cadence with him, and And I'm actually there in my mind as a just follow wheels, don't do any work guy. So I'm perfectly
That guy
fine.
was on his aero bars there for a second.
Yeah, I don't want to go down either. So I, you know, I was happy with having a sprint finish, and that was clearly in my mind during the race that I was. In fact, I'm more adamant about that later on as I'm covering moves that I want this to be a sprint finish, and I don't want anyone off the front, and I'm willing to put in the work. So yeah, there's me.
Yeah,
I'm not doing
you
any
could see
work.
me
I'm
coming
on
up.
the
You could
field.
see me coming up right here on your right too. So I think I'm on the same mindset as you are too. We're kind of like on the same page. I know that. Now let's stay up here and let's at least get something out of this.
Why are you going to the front here?
Right here, I knew that there wasn't a headwind on this stretch of the course, and I knew I wasn't really. I was already resting pretty good uh, for the last 11 laps. And what
So,
is it? We got 4 laps to go. I was looking at how many laps we had left. I felt pretty good, so
doesn't matter.
I was okay jumping up front and just
Why?
spinning a little.
You want to show up? I mean, like, you want to burn a match just for the hell of it?
I'm trying to get away from that whole match thing. I think that's something that limits me. And listening to some of the Trainer Road podcasts where they're talking about how matches are like a myth.
No, I would say this. Why be on the front with no particular purpose?
I'd say just to get around and just mix it up a little bit, get up there and bump the speed up a little bit. I'm not doing like a sprint or anything or trying to or hammering or anything like that, but it just felt like a nice little spot to rotate up off the front and then see who wanted to come back around me and just
Yeah.
play around.
Well,
My intentions weren't to attack right there.
I would say it's not a big deal, except it's needless. And when you get in a situation where everybody's strong, every little bit of energy matters, and
Yeah.
you don't want to burn that energy just because you can.
Yeah.
But I've done the same. I've done the same thing where I'm on the front and I'm like, why am I in the front? What's going on? It's going pretty slow. I'm not. I feel fine, but
So tactically, it's a stupid idea to just. There was no real reason for me to be up there on that section of the course, right?
I think at some point I might have done the same thing after this. I can't remember, but we'll see in just a minute. So this time is going by quickly. We're at 11 of 16 laps, and again, the breakaway of 3 with one of our teammates is up the road. We have no idea what's going on with that breakaway. I was going to say, as it turned out, I do know what happened in the breakaway. So
Okay.
the reason is because I talked to Patrick and after the race and discussed what happened. But basically, Mike, our teammate, was riding tactically in the breakaway, conserving his energy as much as possible. And so he was putting in less work than the other 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that was a tactical choice. And so it was mainly Jesus and Breen that were doing the lion's share of work. Of course, that's what I heard. So
Okay.
and so I would say, look, there goes ENG again up the left-hand side, putting in an attack. I would say, if our teammate was saying, hey, I don't care if this breakaway is caught. We still have guys and moves to make if we get caught. And I can preserve my energy, and maybe I can do so and attack or sprint at the end. That potentially could be a good tactical move for him and for our team. So, yeah, getting a little sketchy from here as I get squeezed out and have to slow down, hit the brakes right there. So, yeah, at this point we get into the race. Guys are. Oh, there's another guy in the grass there. Guys are getting a little restless. Like, they want to race. This is a race. We've just been riding laps.
18 miles an hour now.
They want to race. They want to put in something. Some of these guys don't want to sprint finish. They want to test the legs, see if I can do a breakaway. There's not a lot at stake here. Why not do some experimentation, find out what you're good at, what you're not good at, instead of doing the same thing every time? Or some guys just might want to get more of a workout where they don't want to be tucked into the group just conserving energy for the entire race as we compete for fourth place.
But now, what do you, Arthur, think that the majority of these people want to do right now in this race? Do they want to just get a workout and finish? Do they all want to sprint at the end?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Well, we know that some people know they have no chance to sprint the end. Here you see me covering a move. And again, I'm not trying to join this move. I'm not trying to get into a secondary break. I'm trying to shut this down. And so guys are on my wheel. You're on my wheel. And I want to say, nope, I will burn my matches to ensure that you guys do not get away. So that was what I was thinking at this point. It's kind of funny.
You're not really burning a match here, though. I mean, well, you look at your 30-second watts, and you were down at around 250. Now you're burning a match right here to close this gap. But once you get up on their wheels, your watts are dropping back down. So it's like you're throwing little tiny matches out there.
I think you misunderstand. I am burn, even if it's not like I'm not doing a maximal effort. I gradually moved up to him without going into the deep red.
Right.
At the same time, I was putting my face into the wind and doing work that other people weren't doing. So I am burning a match in that respect. I am using energy to influence the outcome of the race rather than just sitting in. So that is burning. That is energy that I use then that I will not have later. So I expended that amount of energy. I would have more energy if I didn't do that. And so you can see through the course of this.
If you didn't do that dig back there, then these guys would be off the front most likely.
Who knows? Maybe somebody else would cover them. Maybe I didn't have to do that. But we don't know what would happen if I didn't. Would they have gone away? I know these guys are strong. They've been away many times. One of these guys.
We're going 17 right now.
Well, yeah. Now they know they're caught.
16.
Yeah, they know they're caught and they're not doing anything.
15 miles per hour, and this guy's like, okay, we're going way too slow.
Okay, and
15 miles an hour. He was looking down at his speed.
Yeah.
Now you're putting in 900 watts to chase this guy. Now, why'd you do that?
For the same reason. I'm patrolling the front now. I'm saying nobody gets away. I'm covering every move that I can. Okay. And nobody is going to get away because I'm going to do the work to bring us back together. So, this is going to influence the end of the race when I don't have perhaps as much energy as I would have otherwise. So, yeah, we're in the 13th lap of 16 laps. Yeah, putting in that dig was energy that I have to recover from. So that was like a bit of a sprint almost to get on to him. So
now tactically, if you wouldn't have put in those digs to close those little gaps and you let somebody else do that work behind you, do you think tactically you would have had more energy at the sprint finish?
Oh yeah, but I guess that's
what you didn't want to let anybody else go.
Did I do too much work? At this point, I am sacrificing my ability to be on the podium first. I mean, the podium's gone. I'm talking about places in the field sprint. Yeah, I'm sacrificing that. If this is sort of like it is easier to be in the group than blocking the group. Now, I'm not blocking the group. I am just covering moves. But this sort of thing where you look right now, I'm on the front. Why am I on the front? This is what I was remembering, that I was on the front at some point. I'm not going really hard. I'm averaging just under 200 watts. But yeah, I'm definitely going through my mind of why am I in the front? How hard do I want to go? Definitely we're not going hard. Guys are drinking water behind me.
Yeah.
I'm doing 150 watts here. I'm moving over to the right saying, okay.
To gutter everybody.
Well, yeah, guys, go around. If you want to go hard, go around me. But here I am in the front, and I'm going to cover any move that tries to go by me. So I don't, my normalized power for this race was over 290 watts. I think that's probably the highest for any B race I've ever done. And most of those watts were, one, trying to cover that break by Breen, and 2, covering the by Patrick, and then secondly, doing all this patrolling on the front here at the end of the race, and of course then at the last lap as well. So here we go into the headwind. I'm in the wind still.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's like just at the beginning of the race, our friend there on the left from Matrix, the red, white, and blue kid, was on the front. So here we are, everything repeating itself.
Do you remember off the top of your head what your average power was for that whole race?
I want to say maybe 250 something. Well, I'm not sure. I want to say that the weighted Strava weighted average was something like 270 something, and then the normalized power was something like 295 or 293 or something like that. I can't remember what the average power was. It was obviously lower, but it was a pretty pretty high power for a race in which I was not.
Yeah, for you, that's high for you. That's high for you.
It was not a breakaway. It wasn't like I was putting out constant power. It was, if you look at my power file, it has that saw up and down profile to it. So yeah, so it's
So one thing we might want to point out is that that was a high amount of power for you, because you normally don't put out that much power. I mean, physiologically, you're different than me. You're lighter weight than me, and the way you're made up genetically, you don't. I put out, my average power was 258 on this race.
Yeah, so it's probably close to the same. But you were doing more sitting in, which is fine. That's what I would argue you should do. Okay, so who just went off the front with an attack? Ryan, the guy that almost made the breakaway at the beginning. And he's putting in a pretty serious dig here with, I guess we're going to get the 2 laps to go right here at the finish line. So I this was kind of an interesting decision on his part. I would have thought maybe he'd wait till the end, but
so that's sure. Ryan up front.
Right, he's the one that set off. Like I said, the race is either on or off, and so his teammate is right in front of me, and I think he purposefully let that gap open. And Rick there on my team, he's more attentive than me, and he goes to cover the gap.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I thought in my mind that he might open up a gap, but my brain just didn't work and didn't connect and wasn't going fast enough. You just get in that mode where you're on a wheel and you're conserving energy and you're not thinking about what's happening. So I think he tactically was trying to create a separation in the group, and that would have been great for his team, because if Ryan's in a select group with, say, 8 guys going into the finish and the sprint, that's a huge tactical advantage for their team. So a lack of attention on my part right there, and good attention on the part of my teammate, who's of course much more experienced than Rick, right in front of me. So we're getting into we're in the last 2 laps here, and you can see guys are starting to move up, and I think at this point I've told you that I'm intending to lead you out. At some point I was about right here going to tell you that my shifter was broken, and so that was to communicate that I was somewhat limited. But this is when you said, "Screw you! I'm not waiting back here with you. I need to move up to front," and then you move up front on your own. And so I'm just like, I'm just going to sit back here.
No, I don't think that's right now, because we still have 1 more lap to go, right? Yeah.
No, it's coming up. Well, yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah, it's on the last lap.
Don't you move up about right here? Yeah, this is where you tell me screw off. I'm going up. We're getting bad position. This is where you move up. And again, you're burning a small match, burning some.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did, because I mean, look, we're clear off the back, and that's one of my problems was I don't pay attention to what's going on behind me, and as soon as I think, it's like when my head's like, I'm already on the back.
I think you did the right thing. How it would not have worked out is if you end up getting boxed in and I can move up and you can't.
Right.
That's how it would have failed. So if you had been on my wheel the entire time, that would not have been boxed in, right? And so, but then again, you would have had to expend more energy at that later point in the race to move up, as I'm about to expend energy to move up. So the wind is coming from our left, so I'm on the right side trying to get a little bit of shelter. We are now into the last lap, and why am I getting further gap than past? The thought must go through my head, and I move up on the left. So this is a critical part, and it's in my head that I'm going to move up on this next turn as we go into the headwind. And my purpose is not to create a win for myself, but rather to do a lead out for you, for my teammate. And so I'm going to be looking for you as I move up. So one good part about this, it's nobody wants to move up in this headwind and get their head into the wind. So I yell out to you here, get on my wheel. I yell out your name, and luckily you are not boxed in, and you jump on my wheel. And there's no one else on my wheel. Now, it very well could have happened that someone else would have gotten on my wheel. Someone else should have gotten on my wheel.
Yeah.
But nobody attempted to get on my wheel, and now you're on my wheel. And now it's do or die. You know, it's all in, all chips to the middle. And I have to, my job at this point is to go as long as I can. Now, one thing we didn't mention is that one of our teammates took a flyer earlier with like 4 laps to go. He didn't attack. The group let him go. And we didn't see him up until this point. And actually, I didn't even realize I was passing him until I saw the video. I was such in the zone of like putting out power and trying to go fast that I wasn't even thinking about him. I probably thought he was a lapped rider.
And one of the things that was going through my head here was I wanted to make sure you knew that I was behind you this whole time.
I knew you were behind me. I looked back a couple of quick times.
Okay, that's why I was
also communicating to me, saying keep going, like don't give up.
And did that help? I mean, did that communication help?
Yeah, I think it helped. It definitely helped. Okay. And so, yeah, at this point, I'm dying. I burned those earlier matches, and I had a fitness breakthrough, like most power expended kind of situation right here. And I can't hold these guys off. I burned my matches in doing that lead out.
I thought there was going to be a sprint back right here. I was waiting for it, and I even looked back before I got to
look at those huge gaps behind us. Look at those huge gaps behind us. It's strung out. This was a race with no actual sprint finish. So here's the rear view of the guys after the race is finished. So 4th place for you, 9th place for me, and 3rd place for us with our teammate who ended up 3rd place in that 3-man breakaway. And Patrick, the guy that we were marking and thinking was the favorite, was the winner of this race now for the 2nd time in 2 tries. And I can only imagine that he will be catching up at some point and will not be in the B race. But he's a very talented rider. We were on the same team last year. So I thought this was an interesting race from a tactical standpoint and considering what to do, how to spend my energy. We had talked about this kind of lead out before, right?
Right. And we practiced it too once on the pop ride.
And so
we practiced it last week on the pop ride.
Mm-hmm.
Remember on Murphy Road? You took off on the front, and then I got on your wheel.
Except I didn't know you were on my wheel.
Didn't?
No. I didn't know you were on my wheel till when I looked at the video. So I don't know, you know. So I've been talking with some of my teammates about whether we did the right thing at the beginning, chasing Breen, and did we chase him too much? Did we chase Patrick too much when we had a guy up the road? What we should do in different scenarios if Ryan had bridged. I think these are interesting conversations, and I think, we almost created a dangerous situation where we helped Ryan get into the breakaway, and arguably, it would have been much more ideal if when I had chased Patrick, I had broken the elastic instead of dragging the group towards him. In that sense, maybe I can get into the breakaway, and there's an argument that I should have been patient and let somebody else chase instead of being the first person to chase. And then I try to bridge solo. There's Justin mugging for the camera. I didn't realize that till now. So, good times on the B race. What do you think?
Yeah, it's always a lesson learned, and you just pick up little things and try to implement things on the next race. It was a learning experience.
Well, we're about out of time out of our first dual podcast here. This is Honestry and Armenian, Arthur and Alvin, on the same team, Pack, and this was our B race and our first time to put together a sprint finish together. as we competed for 4th place, and Alvin was able to successfully take the field sprint in the B race. So that was a good job and an exciting race.
Definitely was.
All right.